Good morning. This is Ryan Weber presenting my business solution project on owning it as a leader. There's a starting point for every journey, whether it be an educational degree or an aspect of a job description. There's a journey that one goes on from their starting point to what their goal is. That starting point is its owning point. There are many times in life where a time to own it will present itself. It is important to own it so the journey starts and progress can be made. Leadership is no exception. There are several aspects where owning something can make one a better leader. What does it mean to own it as a leader? It's important to understand what it means to own it before moving on to where owning it can be a support in leadership success. Own has a couple of different meanings as an adjective, verb, or pronoun. The verb connotation is the one that applies here. Own as a verb is described as to acknowledge to be true, valid, or as claimed. This acknowledgement is applied to where and when a leader needs. Owning seems very simple, but it has its moments of being challenging. Sure, it would be easy to own when one gets an answer wrong on a test, but it becomes more difficult when the answer implies that there are deficiencies in that subject and the teacher communicates that to you as well. Owning where one is at is important because it can identify what progress it is for someone to make. As stated earlier, there's a starting point for every journey. Owning that journey and believing in the process will strengthen the ability to accomplish the goal. It is important to focus on progress, not perfection, because trying to be perfect can get in the way of healthy changes you are trying to make. Learn how to focusing on progress, not perfection, can put you on a path to success. This is important because owning that starting point doesn't mean that the finish line is the next point away. There will be more opportunities along the journey of growth to live, learn, and have success. After each moment of progress, a leader must reevaluate and own this current point. Owning it gives the chance to acknowledge success and get more motion to go forward. Such a simple thought can have terrific results in developing our own team's leadership abilities. Perception is reality. In business, there will be several times where employees take or feel something in a different way than we meant it to be as a leader. Regardless of how we feel, we must acknowledge one's feelings and make an effort to remedy the situation. Here's a brief description of a leader versus a manager. When you look at a manager, a lot of the traits are all about driving an employee, relying on authority, using fear to drive results, placing blame on others, taking credit for other employees' work, and commanding and demanding. Those traits may work in some situations, but it's not the great way to get long-term success with our employees. We must come from an aspect of being a leader. A leader can coach employees. A leader relies on goodwill. They generate enthusiasm and advise through those breakdowns. They recognize team members for their suggest, and they learn to request and suggest and not command and demand from our employees. Here's some traits of good leaders that we found. Strategic thinking, execution, inspiring leadership, decision-making, teamwork, influence, and technical competence are very, very large aspects of what makes a leader valuable within a company. Being able to understand what our strengths are and our weaknesses are show us where we can grow as leaders and understand where our owning point is, what we need to grow from, and how we can become better for our teams. Owning our role in creating a diverse team. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Our ability to reach unity in diversity will be the beauty and the test of our civilization." There happen to be several types of diversity, ranging from age, race, gender, and even background experience. There are many leaders that saw diversity as something to comply with out of political correctness, or best case, the right thing to do, rather than understanding how diversity has its benefits to the business. Leaders hold an important role in creating or developing a diverse team so that the team can be stronger for the future. Although creating diverse teams requires a little bit more effort in the beginning, they did bring fresher, more creative ideas. An even bigger struggle is owning where a team is at, current state, and how the team is. There is importance in having a diverse team. If there is a team consisting of exclusively middle-aged white males, there is a chance that the team will not be as innovative because a lot of the ideas amongst the team could be the same. A situation like this could go a few different ways, but it would be important to include different races, genders, and other nationalities within this team to be able to not only have diversity, but be able to create plans towards solving business goals with more than one or two ideas. Within my own work, there's been a situation where my management team consisted of only internal candidates. This seemed great, but we unfortunately all got to a point where we had the same exact ideas and we were thinking very closely to the same with each other. My superior then created a listing and was able to recruit 2 managers from outside companies. The next team meeting we had with them, we had fresh new ideas because we had diverse perspectives with us. The only reason we were able to get there is my boss was able to own where our team was at relative to our diversity and created a plan to increase that said diversity. Then, after these 2 additions, as members of the team were able to understand the purpose of having managers outside the company, we were able to grow as a team and as individuals because of this. Owning when our teams have an opportunity to increase diversity may be tough, but through small additions and changes, the benefits to the team and the benefits to the business clearly show to be important. A positive environment will help achieve goals for the business. George Lemon, who is the co-founder of Banco Garanita, once said, "The greatest asset of a company is its people." It is so true because a company cannot accomplish a lot of their challenges and goals without the people they have working for it. If the people that work for us are so important, we as leaders need to ensure that we are creating an environment that encourages every worker to work at their best. The first step is to own what the current state of that environment is. When we create that current state and evaluate it, we must conclude that there needs to be changes made to the environment to make it even better. John Cotter once researched companies that try to transform their environment and realized that, quote, almost any case, the basic goal has been the same, to make fundamental changes in how business is conducted to help cope with new, more challenging market environments. These small fundamental changes Mr. Cotter talks about all compile from changing the current state to the new imagined state of environment for employees. Owning what the current state is can help us leaders realize what changes need to come next to create an even greater environment. From this, we realize as leaders, we are sure to make mistakes along the way. It will happen. There are a few common errors to discuss and how leaders can own their part and push through it to be able to get to their reimagined future. The first error is not establishing a great enough sense of urgency. This one is important because it's what all leaders need to own. If our environment is suffering because of something that is within our own approach or within our own leadership style, we need to own that and create a plan, acting with immediacy to be able to accomplish this. It is our responsibility. The potential problems with creating a change plan that doesn't solicit an urgent buy-in, our employees with seniority will become defensive, morale could possibly drop, events could spin out of control, and short-term business results will be jeopardized. Never know, stock could sink, and maybe we'll be blamed for creating a crisis. As leaders, we need to inspire our teams to be committed to this change to make it best for the impact of our company for the better. Another common mistake is to not have a vision. A vision is important because it says something that clarifies the direction in which an organization needs to move. As leaders, we need to be able to picture what the reimagined future looks like because it gives us and our teams something to tangibly relate to success. Without a clear vision, our efforts of transformation can easily dissolve into a list of confusing and incompatible projects that take the organization in a wrong direction or even nowhere at all. Every employee needs to own their role in bringing the vision to life because we're all in this together. We need to also be able to remove obstacles that get in the way of our reimagined vision. If we don't remove the obstacles, our teams may get frustrated with all the roadblocks and lose sight of our vision. We as leaders need to keep them owning their part and we need to own the responsibility of removing barriers to keep our teams focused on the new goals we want to create. The environment is crucial to team and company success, and we need to own our part in creating the most successful environment it can be. In the words of the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we need to fight for the things we care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join us. The struggles of this are how do we do this as leaders, own our role in caring for what we believe in, but also encouraging others to believe in it as well. This can boil down to clear communication. As Brene Brown says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. This simple yet transformative concept is so crucial in success and as a leader because clarity is a necessity in our way of owning our part and encouraging our teams to own theirs. This kindness involves us as leaders to deliver hard truths. This could be performance deficiencies, conflict resolution conversations, or other things that may impact us. If we are not honest with our team members and give them the tools and resources they need to own their part and own what they need to work on, then we can't expect for progress to be made. This care for our team members is so important. I encourage my team to hold me accountable, and I will own my mistakes and be better because someone told me. For anyone who is on my team, I will do the same because it's unfair if I hold them back. This honest conversation is a discussion, conversation, or meeting defined by a commitment to lean into vulnerability, to stay curious and generous, to stick with the messy middle of a problem, identification and solving, to take a break and circle back when necessary, to be fearless in owning our own parts, and to listen with the same passion with which we want to be heard. Sometimes the truth does hurt, but it is better to be honest and to tell the truth so we each can help each other grow and own that truth and support their growth. When our people grow, our company will grow as well. Leaders play a big part in our team's success. Knowing how to motivate your team will help that team have success come to life. Every person is different, and because of that, every different style of being motivated to work hard and achieve goals. Workers that are talented in their work are great, but there are many talented individuals who simply do not follow through on their commitments. It is our role as leaders to motivate the individuals on our team towards achieving goals and targets. Leaders need to own their role in their company's development and help inspire them to have more grit. Grit is a passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working hard to make that future a reality. Grit is like living life like a marathon, not a sprint. Getting our teams to think like this is so important so they can see past the short-term failures and roadblocks. It is easy for someone on our team to get discouraged after the first milestone wasn't hit. We need to connect with them and get them to own the opportunities they have and then be better for the next time. If individuals on our team have grit, they're much more likely to persevere than when they fail because they don't have to believe that failure is a permanent condition. If we can get our employees to own every part of their journey, whether it goes right or wrong, they can still focus on the main goal, which is our reimagined future. It is our role as leaders to own our part and motivate our teams to the best of their abilities. Having grit gets easier when people believe they can improve. We owe it to our teams to give them the confidence that they can improve. This was proven by a 13-year-old boy who once wrote psychologist and professor Carol Dweck, saying, quote, "I appreciate that your writing is based on solid scientific research, and that's why I decided to put your work into practice. I put more effort into my schoolwork, into my relationship with my family, and my relationship with kids at my school, and I noticed great improvement in all of these areas." If members of our team can do what this 13-year-old boy did and trust the process of believing in yourself, anything will be possible. I take the current members on my own team. If I don't support them in giving them confidence to achieve their sales targets, it most likely won't happen. Now, granted, I will be their coach every step of the way, but before a journey towards a goal, it is important to share the belief that we as leaders wouldn't set a goal if we didn't think it was attainable. If we don't do this, effort and difficulty will make people feel dumb, make them feel like they must give up. But if we come from an encouraging standpoint, this effort and difficulty, that's when neurons are making new connections, stronger connections. That's when they're getting smarter. Our teams deserve us as leaders to be the best leaders we can be. That means staying with them every step of the way, validating their efforts and actions, whether they get the result they want or not. We can help our employees realize the brick walls are there for a reason. The brick walls are not meant there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. Because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. They're there to stop the other people. Feedback is a great tool for leaders to own because it allows us to reflect, own it, learn, and build off that feedback. We all want to know we are the best leaders we can be, but we should also be open to opportunities to be better. It's not just important to get things done, it's important to get the right things done. A big part of feedback is having the ability to own it when it's true and still be willing to reflect when we think it's false. From not being willing to accept feedback to being defensive to even being fake about it, there are several ways we could not take feedback the right way. We need to own these tendencies and lean into those to be able to fight against it and take the feedback to become a better leader. Always remembering that feedback will make us better is a great way to push through these tendencies. Listening to the feedback as the focus rather than who it comes from is a great way to take away more from the feedback. This mindset shift changes feedback from being negative to feedback helping us as a leader own it and we can grow. When you set aside snap judgments and explore where feedback is coming from and where it's going, you enter into a rich conversation. Receiving feedback is a big part, but another big part is how we interpret that feedback, how we own it, and how we grow from it. Often it's not immediately clear whether the feedback is valid and useful. So before you accept it or reject it, do some analysis to better understand it. As leaders, we need time to reflect on the feedback we receive. When someone delivers it to us, most cases that deliver us to take the time and turn that feedback into something more. Taking the time to self-reflect and interpret the feedback helps us as leaders not only understand it, but allows us to own that. Being willing to admit when we have done something to work on and when we have committed to owning it, we are ready to build and grow. Feedback is tough. It always is. But it gives us the ability to own our opportunities and be the best leaders we can be. Conflict always finds a way to exist within a team structure, either among team members or a team member with their leader. We as leaders must strengthen our teams by solving conflicts as quickly and as efficiently as possible. It is our part to own that. A key to solving conflict is for each party to own their part in the conflict. Within my own company, we have a model that we live by when solving the conflict between two teammates. It's called the latte model. The first step is to listen. Whether we conflict or have supporting our subordinates through conflict, it is important to have everyone involved listen to one another. This will show a sign of mutual respect for each other and help everyone involved feel heard. Apologizing is the next part. In apologizing, we must own what we are apologizing for and be genuine behind our part in the conflict. The apology needs to be based off the facts of what we heard from the other party. Once we have listened and apologized, it is now time to act and take steps towards resolving the conflict. This may involve retrying to work together as a team, or maybe demonstrate more patience with one another to avoid conflict in the future. Regardless, it is important to own this and learn what action wasn't okay and what action was okay. After this action is taken, It is important to thank each other for being willing to have the uncomfortable conversation. Conflict isn't easy, so it's great when conflict can be resolved cleanly and a sign of respect can be passed from one to another. The last part is to ensure that everyone involved is satisfied. This ensures that the conflict is resolved and every person is ensured that work can continue as normal. Each person owning their role in conflict makes all conflict resolutions easier and quicker to resume work as the way it was. When you own who you are as a leader, you lean into becoming the best leader you can be. Ronald Reagan once said, "The greatest leader is not necessarily the one that does the greatest things. He is the one who gets the people to do the greatest things." Being a leader is not about attracting others just to follow, because this conveys a sense of power, authority, and control that might not serve well in the short term by getting others to fall in line with conformity. However, in the long term, it doesn't create conditions for sustaining change. A leader works well with their team, not above their team. They own their role in keeping the wheels moving on the team, but also help support the team with anything they need. Being a great leader is leaning into the team approach, where each person in the organization knows that he or she has an important role to play. It can be said with certainty that one person doesn't single-handedly build a successful business, because leadership isn't all about action or position or title. We as leaders need to constantly evaluate where we are and what we are doing as leaders. When we find ourselves straying from being a part of the team and coming in as a commander, it is our responsibility to own that. We must reevaluate and find where we can do better. According to the work of John Gottman and Robert Levinson, who studied closely the effects of negativity with couples, the suggested ratio is 5-1, meaning that for every negative encounter, there must be a minimum of 5 positive ones to counterbalance the effect of the first. Our teams can be hard to forgive us when we make a mistake by coming from a sense of power or authority. Our teams deserve to be bought into what we are trying to accomplish as a team. Feeling out what our teams are okay with and not okay with is important. As a leader, we need to be able to have the ability to sense appropriately within our teams. Sensing can create problems. In making fine judgments about how far they go, leaders risk losing their followers. We must make decisions that are best for the team to be able to accomplish. We need to own that and stand up to that simple fact. If we do not, we risk losing our team members to frustration, stress, and other compounding factors. We owe it to our teams to be the best leaders we can be, own it, and hold ourselves accountable to that standard. In closing, owning our opportunities is critical to becoming a successful leader. Owning helps us understand what current state looks like and where we can improve and be a better leader. Diversity amongst our teams has its proven benefits, so we as leaders need to own where our team's current state is and grow towards those benefits. The environment we create is no exception. Owning where environment is and where we can improve shows our team members that we are invested in them. Every person is different, so it is important to know and own multiple different motivational techniques so we can encourage every member of our team and ourselves to be successful. Feedback is the best way to be able to own where we are and own our faults. So making sure we avoid our tendencies and reflect on what we have in front of us to improve on becoming a better leader. There are multiple people on our teams, and as their leader, we need to be clear on what role they have so they can own it. Our conflict resolution skills will improve if we get every member on our team to be able to own their fault in a conflict and be able to move on just as we own our own. As leaders, we owe it to our teams and owe it to ourselves to own our abilities and own our opportunities and grow towards being the leader we want to be.